Welcome back to the Tuesday Weekend, the podcast that's trying to watch its weight. So could you cut that pizza into 6 slices instead of 8?
Yeah. I've been asked that so many. How many slices are in that pizza? As many as you want.
As many, yeah. You want 16? I can do prime numbers. It's just gonna take a minute. Before we get into the tier ranking in the next segment, I want to quickly try to go through and explain American regional pizza style differences. What does New York style mean? What's the difference between Sicilian and Detroit? And what, in the name of all that is holy, is Provel cheese? So let's start with basically the two base models that a lot of other forms take root in, the Neapolitan and the Sicilian. A lot of styles are really direct variations of one of the two of these. So a Neapolitan is often a fermented crust, but generally is proofed for a minimum of 8 hours to give a bubbly, chewy crust. It's smeared with light tomato sauce and often slices of mozzarella, so the crust is not uniformly covered. And then basil and olive oil are added as the finishing touches. This is a very common style for your brick oven and wood-fired pizzas. Good, simple, classic. Guys, thoughts on those?
Yeah, they're good, simple, and classic. That's pretty much mostly what I eat down here. Just a little bit of a thicker crust is all. Usually some tomato sauce and everything. Like place down the street, Isola Cafe. They make it great. They've got the stone oven and stuff. They use right sauces. They recently just got back to being good again. For a while there, they were like going light on toppings and stuff for no known reason because they were full. It was a busy place. And it's like, oh yeah, this is a great pizza. I love your spicy salami. The sauce is great. And you put a whopping 3 pieces of basil on an entire pizza.
Moving on then, the Sicilian is a much thicker, doughier pan style. Sometimes it's almost a focaccia with toppings. Frequently, the sauce is spread on top of the cheese to prevent the fluffy dough from getting too soggy. So do you guys see and or choose a lot of just straight Sicilian slices these days?
There's one good place here called Grandma's that does Sicilian. And you brought up the difference between Sicilian and Detroit. And that's why Blue Pan is called Blue Pan, because a Sicilian woman in Detroit, it's Detroit, a lot of cars, and oil pans were painted blue, and there were tons of them lying around. And she decided to clean them up and use them for pizza. And Detroit is just simply where the cheese goes all the way to the edge, and it's a little deeper, and that caramelizes on the edges. And that's essentially the difference between Sicilian and Detroit.
Yep. Princess Pizza has Detroit style, and that's exactly how they describe it on their board.
So getting into the American regional styles, I'm going to start with what I know best, Chicago's pizzas. As I alluded to in the intro, there are actually 3 distinct Chicago styles: deep dish, stuffed, and tavern style, though I, of course, do know of a couple brick oven places that will knock your socks off, too. So deep dish. I know that there are people from other places who say, deep dish isn't really pizza. Wah, wah, I'm a baby, and I only eat baby pizza. Wah. Grow up. Deep dish is pizza. If we're going to call Rhode Island red strips a style of pizza, then we can acknowledge that pizza has a heavyweight class. I will admit that there is a swath of Chicagoans who say this pizza is for the tourists, but since I have not lived in Chicagoland since 2001, I am safe to eat it. What makes deep dish distinct is, of course, the buttery 2 to 3 inch sidewall crust, which often contains corn flour and copious amounts of olive oil to give it its distinctive butteriness. Because the pizza often needs to bake for 45 to 60 minutes, appetizers are recommended, and the cheese and toppings are put on the bottom and the chunky tomato sauce on top to prevent the cheese and toppings from burning. Sausage and spinach are the most common toppings, and one unique topping to the deep dish is the sausage patty, where a single layer of sausage covers the entire pizza. Fellows, deep dish thoughts?
Well, you sent me a deep dish pizza once when we were living in Park City that you made entirely from scratch at home. That a guy literally showed up at my bar and said, hey, Josh said to give you this and that you have to give me a beer. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I had to fight off my coworkers because like, oh, I want a bite of that. And I'm like, absolutely not. There's no way in hell you're having a bite of it. It was fantastic. I absolutely love properly done deep dish pizza. One of my favorite things. Like I said, I was really sad to see Berkeley Pizza out here go because there's a Chicago place up like 30 miles away I can go try a pizza in. I figured I could call ahead to order it and then get there by the time it was halfway done.
Right.
That's a great pizza. I love the thick crust. I mean, it's a meal. A couple of slices are a meal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Deep dish pizza is absolutely pizza. Like, I don't get people that say they hate it or anything. It's like, you don't hate it. You just
haven't had it.
You're just an ideologue and a closed-minded moron. But like Chicago deep dish is like a once in a while thing. Like,
sure.
You know,
yeah,
a New York
absolutely.
slice anytime, happy day. And my friend Tony in Chicago actually will go to Lou Malnati's and whatnot and play a game where he'll go to tables and ask them where they're all from. And it's a game called Find the Person from Chicago. That actually, because it's just one or a couple with friends from wherever. Because
exactly. And they're visiting from out of town. Okay, that's why you're here. Sure. Yeah. Chicago stuffed pizza is really basically a full pizza calzone, where calzone is made by putting the cheese and toppings on half and then folding the crust over. This is basically an entire pizza with another crust laid on top and then frequently garlic oil spread on top. So while it is not as well known as deep dish or as frequently eaten as Tavern Style, it is worthy of its own listing. For me, Nancy's is the Chicago place to go for stuffed, but have either of you tried a true stuffed pizza? And I don't mean that stuffed crust nonsense that, well, I guess Pizza Hut, Domino's, whatever does.
No, it's I have tried one, and you're gonna shoot me, but it was back when I was in college and stuff, and it was actually from Sbarro's, where they had the pizza with the crust on top, and they had the oil on everything. It was still like, this is our stuffed pizza.
I mean, I ate plenty of Sbarro's in my teenage years, but okay. The everyday Chicago pizza is the Tavern Style. This is a cracker thin crust where the dough is made a couple days in advance to allow the moisture to evaporate out, leaving a very crisp, flaky crust. It is cut into very sociable small squares, which is ideal for eating slices while never having to set down your beer. This is what Chicagoans call Chicago pizza. Tavern Style, Glenn?
Probably the best. Honestly, it's probably my favorite style, but there is right and wrong ways of doing it. Like you said about the crust, like sometimes it's too floppy. It has to be crisp.
It has to be crisp.
What we have that is even close to that, and is very close to that, is actually just called like flatbread.
Yeah,
it's where they do just this the random thing, but it's that cracker crisp thing, and it's cut into squares, and you can just take a piece and eat it. Like, if it's really more social and everything, it's a lot less mess. It's good.
It's the pizza version of tapas, really. Great for sharing. And and yes, the corner pieces are the best. However, it's still a circle, so I don't know if you call it the corner pieces. I'll put that in your head, Josh.
That challenged me too. I was like, if it's round and it has corners, what the fuck, Josh?
Well, but you cut and square. Okay, so let's start moving around. Taking a short jaunt from Chicago over to the Northeast to Detroit. So as Glenn mentioned, Detroit is based on the Sicilian style cut into squares. The thicker pan-baked crust carries the sauce, the cheese, and the toppings all the way to the edge to give that beautiful caramelized cheese on the edge effect. Traditionally, Wisconsin brick cheese is the preferred choice, and pepperoni is the most popular single topping. And of course, Glenn, I know your favorite pizza joint, Blue Pan, does feature Detroit style. So yeah, what else do you want to tell us about Detroit?
Oh, just that it's amazing because even people from Detroit will declare Blue Pan the best Detroit there is. There's certainly also Jets here, which is kind of the Domino's of Detroit style, I would say. It's certainly good. It's not Blue Pan. It's not as fluffy of a crust. And it's awesome because it's still a thick crust pizza, but the dough is lighter and airier and fluffier. So it's not nearly as filling as a Chicago deep dish.
Nick, any other Detroit thoughts?
Yeah, actually, every other Tuesday in grade school was pizza day, and they made Detroit style pizza. Now, I'm 9 and had no idea what that was, but pizza day was freaking awesome because it was fresh made pizza that day, and you wanted the corner piece because you had the crispy cheese all the way around it and stuff. Dozens of years ago, I was eating Detroit pizza and loving it and not even knowing it, and then when we all went to Brown Dog and Telluride, and I was like, oh, I remember this. Also, it's fantastic. I mean, it's honestly probably my favorite style of pizza right now, especially because Glenn makes me go to Blue Pan every time I come to Denver because the pizza's okay, I guess.
Oh, yeah, twist your arm. Sure.
Yeah,
exactly. Force the willing, Nick.
Well, just because I'm 10 feet in front of you are we going to Blue Pan or not?
All right, so now southeast to Ohio and a couple of its micro styles. Ohio Valley Pizza, originating in good old Steubenville. What they do in Steubenville is bake the crust with the sauce and a light dusting of cheese. And before I get to the shocking part, I will say that tomato sauce is not a heavy investment here, and it is often just basically stewed tomatoes. But okay, so you have your medium thickness crust, the sauce and a little cheese on. They bake it. When it comes out, then they put the cold mozzarella and toppings on the pizza, allowing the steam of the pizza in the box to slightly warm the cheese. I have not tried it, so I'm not saying it's bad. It just seems weird. That seems like somebody was a little drunk when they were making a pizza and was like, okay, I can fix this. And they just went from there.
It sounds like something you would eat with a Wisconsin old fashioned.
Oh, that hurts.
You can die on that hill, man. They're garbage. We've been over this. That pizza sounds like hot garbage because it came out of an oven. So you have cold garbage and hot garbage together. It's probably a great garbage meal, and you can have your Midwest garbage meal together. Don't come into my place and ask for that crap. Because you do all the time because you're from the Midwest. We're from here. We want you to make it the way we have it at home.
Glenn?
Yeah, no, that just sounds like, yeah, somebody made a mistake and forgot to put the cheese on and just threw it on or something, rolled with it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, this is edible. Yeah, let's do it like this. All right. So then Dayton style seems to just be a thin crust, square cut. And usually those don't go wrong. It just kind of seems otherwise unremarkable. But then Briar Hill and Youngstown is another medium thickness crust, but they use Romano cheese and a Sunday sauce that is sweet and tangy. And it sounds like basically a barbecue sauce without any of the chili powder, without any of the heat to it. But I don't know, maybe next time I go see family in Pittsburgh, Youngstown's not really out of the way. So, okay, do any of these Ohio State pizza variations sound good to you guys?
No, and I can't even say I've heard of them.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say the Ohio State pizza variations.
Right. That makes it even.
Really?
All right. Moving eastward. So to my wife's home state of Pennsylvania, again, I found 3 distinct varieties, though I almost want to kick the Altoona style all the way to the end of this list just because of all of them, I find it the most shocking. But first, we'll start with the Old Forge style, which is a medium thickness Sicilian style crust baked on sheet trays. Give the crispy exterior and a soft, chewy interior. And they tend to go for a slightly sweet, chunky sauce. Sounds pretty good. Then the Philly tomato pie is the first of the tomato pies that we've seen. This is a thick focaccia-like dough with a chunky sauce and just a scant dusting of grated parm. And like most tomato pies, is often eaten cold or at room temperature. So guys, are you familiar with the world of cheeseless tomato pies?
I've had 1 or 2 before. I wouldn't really call it a pizza. It seems like it's missing a core ingredient. It's something that I've seen made a lot in various places I've worked for vegetarians and vegans. Mm-hmm. It's basically dough and sauce.
Yeah, it's dough and sauce. It seems to have a very popular following in Philly and a couple other spots, but
it just seems that you just ordered a giant breadstick that's already got the sauce on it.
That's convenient.
Like, oh, cool.
Okay, I see why.
That's kind of how I see that.
As a kind of a snack on the run, like when we get to the Rhode Island red strips, it's something, if I'm going hiking, you can throw a couple in your bag and it's really convenient to take, you know.
Yeah.
But I will also take cold pizza with me on a hike, and that's not a problem. But
well, it reminds me of my dad, who's lactose intolerant, so he has to order pizza without cheese. And those pizzas, I look at them and I'm just like, that just looks sad.
Yeah, something's missing. Okay, so what really strikes me as the most particular regional variety, the Altoona pizza. This is a rectangle Sicilian pan baked dough that will be lovingly square cut when it comes out. Then on top of the dough, they put a sweet tomato sauce, deli salami, green bell pepper, and then cover that with either American or Velveeta. So friends, in the Venn diagram of what I consider to be good and what I consider to be pizza, they are nearly concentric circles, but this might have found its way into that narrow crack of pizza not good. Am I prejudging this too harshly?
Hard pass. I don't care if I'm starving or dying. No.
I have never been so intoxicated that sounds good.
That sounds like you have a family potluck and one of the family members started to make pizza and realized they didn't have the right ingredients, but said, fuck it, I'm going to finish it anyway, and just went with what they had in the fridge.
Right. I mean, my brothers and I got closer with our pizza bagels as kids, just whipping it up with what we had on hand. Yeah.
That's a sad ass kitchen too, if that's what you have left. How did you wind up with just that? Why'd you get that in the first place?
I mean, okay. I will potentially. I've never been to Altoona, but I have friends in the part of the state. So next time I'm there, maybe, I don't know. I will take a bite. I'm not going to say I'm going to enjoy it. All right, I'm going to move on.
Why do you want to torture yourself with something like that?
For adventure, for the experience, because it builds character. That's what my dad would say. Okay, from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, we have the Trenton tomato, which is a lot like the Philly tomato, but they do use cheese. Here, the cheese is spread to the edge of the thin crust and the tomato sauce drizzled on top for effect. And of note, Papa's Tomato Pies claims to be the oldest continuously running pizzeria in the U.S., but that claim is debated by Lombardi's on Mott Street in Manhattan. Well, okay, this one at least has cheese on it, so I'll call that a pizza. Moving on. Okay, New York. We have the New York slice. Cheesier than its Neapolitan ancestor, they're usually baked in 18-inch pies, then cut into floppy, greasy, foldable triangles that are perfect for being cheap and eating at any hour. Cheese and pepperoni are by far the two most popular, and most New York pizza joints offer dry oregano and garlic powder for the diners, in addition to the standard grated parm and red pepper flakes. I will admit plenty of times as a cook in New York, getting out of work after midnight and going the block that way from the subway stop to get the dollar slice on my walk home, and it was a beautiful thing. I'm never going to complain.
Same. Out here in Little Italy, Landini's is open till 2 a.m. and it's just by the slice, and there's a line out the door every night. It's the New York style thin floppy, and they actually have the same recruitments that you described. They have the garlic powder. Glenn, I think you were here once when we went there just late. It's like, yeah, let's grab a slice. But I mean, that's pretty much what pizza is out here in San Diego, is that late night after the bar, after everything. That's more of its big role, and it's mostly all New York style.
Certainly the American flagship of pizza, but there's particulars to it if it's going to be good. Like the crust has to be crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Floppy, but not too floppy. Should be just a little bit of black char.
You want to fold it, you don't want it to.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it can flop, but not bad.
Yeah. The pepperoni slices, you fold it, you get the drip of grease onto a napkin, you throw that napkin away, and then your pizza's ready.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
napkin, what are you doing?
No,
white shirt,
just onto the back of your hand, you lick it off. So, do I like that better than Chicago Tavern Style? No. Have I enjoyed basically every New York slice I've ever had? Yeah. So, yeah, no complaints here. All right,
I can't say every slice. There are some out there that are not
almost every slice. Almost. All right, so then Grandma Style originated from the Sicilian Nanas on Long Island. It's a thicker crust baked in rectangles, but not proofed as long as the Sicilian dough usually is, giving it a slightly denser crust. They usually have scant amounts of sauce and very simple toppings. Sounds good.
That actually sounds pretty good, yeah.
I've definitely seen and had that when I was living in New York. They're good. Upstate is Buffalo Style, which is deep fried and tossed in a mix of butter and Frank's Red Hot. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. It's another focaccia-like thick crust with a slightly sweet sauce, lots of cheese, and usually pepperoni that goes all the way to the edge of the crust. And then you deep fry it and toss it in butter and Frank's Red Hot. But I mean, again, it sounds like almost like the Detroit. Sounds good. New Haven has their own thing they call beets. It's a flat crust baked in a 600-degree coal oven. The sauce is not pre-cooked, and they use pecorino instead of mozzarella, and then breadcrumbs instead of the cornmeal underneath, which, I mean, I'm for all that. None of that sounds bad. But the most popular subgenre of the New Haven is the white clam pizza, which does feature a white sauce and clams. Nick, I'll start with you on this one.
Sure. I'm not against a white sauce on a pizza. I'm not. One of my favorite pizzas, like I described before from Wild Mushroom, was a white pizza. I order them out here once in a while, too. I'm interested in the coal oven part. I mean, is that actually coal? Or is it like charcoal part? I
looked in a couple of places, and coal is what at least was the traditional way, and I didn't start calling around to New Haven pizzerias to see what they got, but especially in a college town like New Haven, really, you're still using coal?
Maybe it's got a unique flavor. I've never tried it, but that was the thing that caught my attention when you said that. I'm like, I'd like to do a white pizza, and I'm like, cool. And I like the white garlic sauce on pizza. Again, I don't have a problem with that at all. But the coal thing there's
Marco's coal-fired pizza here in Denver, and it's awesome. It's delicious. It's amazing. I just don't go often.
Another fuel source that both burns hot and lasts a long time is rubber tires. So maybe we should start a rubber tire pizzeria.
I'm sure there's one in Ohio.
Oh, yes. Oh, you beat me to it. I like it. Okay.
That would actually be an interesting taste test, coal-fired versus wood-fired pizza, if you could tell the difference, because honestly, that would be tough.
Sure. Well, on grills, you should be able to tell the difference between using a hickory or a cherry wood or maple. You know, the wood you use should impart some flavor, though sometimes it is really pretty subtle. But I think the difference between wood and coal might be significant.
That'd be an interesting blind taste test or something.
All right, so moving on, the other two New England styles I found are the New England Greek, which just seems to be a round, thicker crust with a blend of mozzarella and cheddar. Okay, sure, I'll eat that. And then there's the New England Beach Pizza, which is another sheet tray baked style with a sweeter sauce, a dusting of grated parm, and then a slice of provolone on top. And yeah, that doesn't offend me either.
That sounds nice. The first one sounds not nice, but that one sounds nice.
Sure. Oh, yeah. And then let's not forget the Rhode Island red strips. This truly is one end of the pizza spectrum here. A thicker dough baked with the tomato sauce on, and importantly, no cheese, then cut into long strips and always served room temperature. In fact, you will more frequently find them in bakeries than pizzerias because it's a snack. It's a grab-and-go snack. I mean, it sounds like a good snack, but that's a snack.
That really does just sound like something you'd have in a Ziploc bag on a bike ride or a hike.
Yeah. I mean, sounds great. I'll try it. In fact, maybe I'll make some myself this weekend and try it. Dipping south to DC, we have the DC Jumbo Slice, which is often a 36-inch pizza cut into foot-long triangle slices that require at least 2 paper plates to carry. Otherwise, it's basically just a very large NYC slice. Fight me, DC. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. That sounds exactly what it is. It's just a bigger.
It's just a bigger one.
It's just a bigger one.
Again, doesn't sound bad, especially if you're fighting that hangover. Bring it. But yeah. Okay, then two barely have to mention styles that come to us from Florida. There's the Cuban style in Miami, which is a medium thickness round crust whose only distinguishing factor seems to be using Gouda as the cheese. So, okay. All right. And then in Tampa, there is the Roman style, which is a thin crust baked into 3-foot-long pans. And the big gimmick there is it's cut with scissors. That's cute, Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, that's
use of states.
Yeah, that's cute, Florida. Nice try coming up with something of your own. All right, so let's recenter on my starting point in Chicago and go west to the Quad Cities, Davenport, Rock Island, Molina, and Bettendorf. Yeah, because I'm from the Midwest and I know that. In the Quad Cities, they like a spicier sauce, sausage, and then they cut their round pizzas into sociable strips. So like a tavern style, good for sharing and eating with a beer in your other hand. The other twist they put on it is they use brewer's malt and either mulled syrup or molasses in the crust, giving it a much richer flavor. And if you spent time in Bettendorf, you'd understand that. Have you guys ever if you ever seen a Quad City option? I did once make one for my roommates when I was in Park City, and I cut it into the large strips, and they were like, what the hell is this? I've got a picture of it somewhere. All right, popping down the Mississippi, we get to St. Louis. It's another of our user-friendly, cracker-thin style square-cut pizzas, but the unique quality here is the use of Provel cheese. Glenn, Nick, have you ever seen Provel cheese at your cheesemonger's counter?
Yeah, I've seen it where there's a whole bunch of cheeses in a cheese place, but that's the only place I've ever seen it.
Because usually St. Louisans, St. Lousiers, I'm not sure.
All them Cardinals fans and get over it.
Yeah, then there's. They usually guard it pretty jealously just so they could say they have something of their own. But Provel is a blend of cheddar, Swiss, and provolone. The most popular question on Google after what is Provel is Provel legally cheese? And that answer is no. It cannot legally be labeled as cheese in these United States, but a pasteurized processed cheese. Yum. Do you guys have experience with St. Louis pizzas?
No, I've actually only heard about it maybe 5 years ago or something, and I went, don't want that.
Same. Also, literally, I mean, we're talking about a place that's actually in Missouri and doesn't do barbecue.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So the last time I was in St. Louis for dinner, we were meeting up with one of my wife's friends, and we just went to a local brew pub. I kind of was like, hey, I kind of want to try this, St. Louis thing. And the friend there was like, no, we're going to go eat good food. So, okay. Then just two more that I found from the West. We have Colorado Mountain Pie, which is a thick, doughy, braided crust made with honey. This pizza is over on the heavyweight end with the deep dish and is frequently sold by the pound. And it just, again, kind of sounds great for a all-day hike, sort of high-calorie burn kind of day. And Glenn, I will start the Colorado pizza with you.
Well, obviously, Colorado born and raised, and I'm going to get slapped by some people for this one, but there's Bojo's is the main staple of Colorado mountain pizza. I don't get it. Their sauce is hot garbage, and to me, sauce is what makes the best pizza. It's very sweet, overly sweet. It gives me heartburn. It's nothing special, and the key to it is the crust. They fold it over so it looks like mountainous, and you dip it in honey, and it's bread and honey. I don't get it. I don't think it's very good. It's about the last pizza place I go to here. I always say I'm a true Coloradan. I don't eat Colorado style pizza.
Yeah, I was gonna say I visited you several times in Colorado, and it's never even been mentioned.
Yeah. There you go.
Not even like if we drive by, what's that place? It's just silence. It's like,
yeah, don't worry about it.
And the dough isn't even that good. It's like Olive Garden breadsticks. Nothing special, and you dip it in honey, and I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just not that good.
Then we have California pizza. Okay, so in the 80s, Alice Water did give the world a new understanding of what pizza could and should be. Using fresh, locally sourced ingredients, she treated a pizza crust like a plate, a blank canvas awaiting expression. Using fermented doughs and a wood-fired oven, these were the first pizzas in the U.S. to use artichoke hearts, barbecue sauce, and get finished with arugula. What was known as California pizza has since widely become accepted as pizza. Any general thoughts on California pizza?
when I was in college is when that moved out of California.
Right.
I was in Arizona at the time, and that place was full all the time. And it was cool because there were all kinds of different styles and different flavors on pizza that you wouldn't normally think of. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it was, and now you can't go to a place without finding a barbecue chicken pizza.
Right.
I mean, they're like, every place has it now. Every place, of course, is stolen from them and kind of taken away some of their fire because you can only have so many topping combinations that you can sell. I mean, the crust was great too. It was one of the places, it was a sit down pizza place. It wasn't like grab a slice and go or grab a pizza and go. You'd sit down and have, beers or have drinks and have pizza.
So I definitely believe it does live on in the 24 varieties by the slice kind of joints. Yeah. This is the modern expression of that.
It was a good kind of coming out party for, hey, you don't just have to have sauce, pepperoni, cheese.
Right.
It's kind of like when, say, Pizza Hut in the 80s came out with the Supreme, which had everything on it.
Oh, yes. My mom used to call that the garbage pizza.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree, especially with the green bell peppers, which I think we all hate. That you'd pick those off and eat the rest of the pizza. But yeah, California pizza was actually pretty cool.
All right. Well, before we get to ranking, any last thoughts on regional styles?
Kind of the elephant in the room, and I'm sure it'll be on the rankings, is the one that's all around the country is the Domino's pizza style.
Oh yeah, I didn't really even touch the like.
It's its own. It's kind of its own style.
Yeah.
It's got a thicker crust, but not a super thick crust. Their crusts are now more sugar than they are flour. They're not good, but you see it everywhere. You eat it half. And any job you work at, like especially restaurant jobs, instead of giving you a raise or overtime, they will buy you pizza, and it's always Domino's, and it's always,
almost as good as affordable childcare.
Well, I have to bring up one style that you didn't mention, and that's Jersey style, which is essentially New York, but with the sauce on top, and I think it's absolutely awesome.
Oh, sure.
You'd give a little better crispness, and you wouldn't get that sog halfway through.
A little bit. I mean, I mentioned that the Trenton tomato, but Anyway, whatever. Okay, so if I missed any other styles, especially if you have some small speck of a town that does it even weirder than Altoona, I want to know about that. So leave it in the comments. Share this with your friends. We will be back in just a moment for our tier ranking.